You're listening to the 5-Minute Friday podcast episode of The Aligned Self. This is your host, Daniel J-N-O-V. Okay, 5-Minute Friday, a short and concise podcast episode of The Aligned Self, designed to leave you with a question, an idea, a strategy, a tip, a hack, in order to give you greater access to your conscious awareness, evolving your conscious awareness, or give you greater mastery over your mind. Hello, friend, and welcome into this 5-Minute Friday. Today I'm going to answer a question from Zoe, and she was asking me about what I've said before in the law of manifesting, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Now, I did not come up with that phrase. That's actually from Neville Goddard. But I've repeated it several times because it's very powerful. But Zoe tells me I understand the concept intellectually, but it's difficult for me to feel it in my body. What are some techniques that I can use to actually embody this feeling of the wish fulfilled? Well, Zoe, you actually gave me an indication of how you're thinking about this idea of assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. You get it intellectually. You see, we're being too intellectual about it. We're being too rational about it. We're not yet fully associating with the feeling. So what do I mean by that? What I mean, oftentimes, in order for us to moderate our emotions, we tend to distance ourselves from the actual experiences because we don't want to be overwhelmed. We want to be able to control our emotions for the most part. We've learned this over time. It's not necessarily in our best interest to wear our emotions on our sleeve to get overly excited. We don't necessarily want to play our hand, show our cards. And so what we do is we intellectualize, we have an understanding about it, but we don't live in the knowing of a feeling. If I were to ask you, do you remember a time when you were extremely happy, just over-brimming with joy? And you might respond, well, yeah. And I could tell in that moment that just in your response, just in your verbal response, yeah, that you're not fully associated with that feeling. I don't hear it. It's not congruent with being in that memory fully. So you have a memory of it, you have an intellectual recalling of it, but you're not associated into the event. If I was to ask, do you remember a time when you were extremely happy? Oh, yeah. I can remember what was going on. I can remember who was talking. I can remember my anticipation of what was going to happen next. It was so exciting. When I first decided to go to the party, I didn't really know what to expect. But as I got there, I began to meet people, and everyone was laughing, and everyone was very accepting and encouraging. The atmosphere was totally contagious. It wasn't long before I was on cloud 9. I was walking around. I was laughing. I was like outside of my body. I was having conversations and being in a way like I never felt before. This joy just exuded from me. I just felt so comfortable in my skin. Now, the difference between, yeah, I remember that, in my recounting of going to that party, just in me recounting it, I feel more excited. I feel more energized. I feel the blood pumping through my body. That's what you want. That's how to have a visceral experience, to be fully associated with the feeling. But how might you do that on a manifestation, something that hasn't come yet? Well, something you may have heard me talk about before is that we are a psychic soma being. How you use the body affects the mind. How you use the mind affects the body. So we can actually act as if we're excited, act as if we're having joy, act as if we're exuberant, act in a way that we would act if that wish were fulfilled. I remember receiving a check for $125,000, and I took it to the bank. It was exciting. I was already spending the money in my mind, and I took it to the bank, and they said, it'll be 10 days before this will be cashed and actually deposited into your account. And I'm like, 10 days? I was a little disappointed at first, but she explained to me it's on Friday and it's going to be the weekend and then the business week and then the next weekend, the following Monday, the money will definitely be in your account. I said, okay, I guess I can live with that. I didn't have the money before this, but just knowing that it's on its way is good enough for me. And so I actually noticed when I left the bank, I had a little bit of a spring in my step. I was a little happier. I was more excited. I was more exuberant because I knew this money was coming to me. And so I'm going to ask you to adopt the same idea. Imagine that you have a $125,000 check, or if that's not enough, imagine that I'm giving you a check for $1 million. And you take that to the bank and they say the same thing. We're going to deposit it in your account, but it's going to take 10 days to clear. And knowing that that money is going to be available, you're going to have a different verb in your step, a different pulse. You're going to be excited. You're going to walk differently. You're going to talk differently. People are going to ask you, what's going on? Why are you so happy? It's just going to exude out of your skin. And like I said, act as if. How would you walk if you knew that you had $1 million that was going to be in your hands in 10 days? What kind of thoughts would you be thinking? Would you actually sit down and start writing down some things you'd like to buy, some investments you'd like to make? How would you begin spending some of the money? Of course, you don't want to spend it all at once, but what kinds of things would you buy immediately? Would you get a new car? Would you get a new wardrobe? Would you get a personal trainer? What things would you bring in your life that aren't there now? How are you spending the money? Because it's yours, it's going to be in your hands very shortly. Would you quit your job? Would you go somewhere else? Would you go on vacation? Where's the first place you would go? What kind of things would you treat yourself to? Would you get a massage or 2 or 3 massages a week for the next 4 weeks? You see, as you're writing things down, you're assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. It's already yours. It's already in your hands. It's just a matter of time. There it is. Let's play with this idea a little more. And let's say you don't get the $1 million all at once. You're going to get it doled out in equal checks once a month for 12 months, $85,000 a month. Well, how would you spend? What kind of difference would $85,000 a month make for you? How would it change your lifestyle? How would you feel? Would you worry about bills? Would you worry about what's next? How would you live your life? By playing this game, you can evoke the feeling of the wish fulfilled. You don't actually have the money, just the anticipation of the money coming to you. And as we live in this high vibe state, we are going to attract other experiences, other connections, other people into our lives because of how we're being in the world. And this is a practice. This is a play of consciousness. You can adopt this on a regular basis. You can act as if day in, day out. And even if you can't sustain the feeling all day long, if you can play this game for 30 minutes, if you can play this game for an hour, you're going to radically change your life because you're shifting your vibration. You're shifting your expectation. You see, the moment we create an intention, the universe is already fulfilled on it. We're just going to catch up to it based on our openness to receive. And so if you have an intention to receive $1 million, it's already on its way. It's just a matter of time before you cash the check. And you can live in the anticipation. You can live in the expectation. You can act as if you already have $1 million. Now, you don't want to go into debt, but you can walk and move in the world as if the money is on its way. In fact, you already have it. You're just catching up. They're just completing the paperwork. They're, crossing the T's and dotting the I's. It's just a matter of time. See, in this anticipation, in the acting as if, this is assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Well, I think I've explained the feeling of the wish fulfilled, how to live into it, how to associate fully with the feeling. And so I'm going to encourage you, my friend, to play with this idea. If you have any more questions, let me know. If you have any comments, tell me about any successes that you experience, anything that you draw into your life, anything that you magnetize to your life. I want to hear the results. I'm really excited to hear how this is going to change your life. Well, until next time, this is your friend and host, Daniel Denovi, urging you to follow your bliss. Live your life from inner signals. Be inner directed as you engage in the epic adventure.